Operating on 920 AM and K295CQ on 106.9 FM.
In Africa, 5-year-old Chiru has no choice. She and millions like her must walk miles every day for dirty water. But together, we can end their walk by providing clean water close by. Instead of spending hours walking to get water that makes them sick, girls can be in a classroom that expands their minds, and moms will gain back time to care for their families. Sons and daughters can grow up strong, finally free of sicknesses caused by dirty water. At World Vision, care about clean water runs deep. Deep enough to reach one new person with clean water every 10 seconds. Because every child, every person, everywhere deserves clean water and the chance to rise to their full potential. It's true. When you just add water, you change a life. Learn more at worldvision.org.
One theft every 6.5 minutes. 156 thefts every day. Car thieves appreciate all the help they can get. So here's a shout out to the more than 57,000 drivers who admittedly made it easy for the thieves last year. 57,000 who left the keys in their vehicle and had it stolen. A 22% increase in just a year. Old habits die hard, and thieves can't help themselves, especially when it's so easy. So why is it so difficult for some people to turn off the car, take the key or the fob, and lock it up before they walk away? Turn off the ignition and lock your vehicle every time you get out. Don't leave keys or fobs inside. Put all valuables out of sight in the trunk or take them with you. Lock it before you leave it. Don't make it easy for the thief. If you know something about vehicle theft or insurance fraud, call us at 1-800-TEL-NICB. That's 1-800-TEL-NICB. A public service message from the National Insurance Crime Bureau.
Welcome to the new John Simmons Show. After years of battling a gambling addiction, John found a hope and a future for his life through Christ. He has spent the last several years encouraging others to find joy, peace, and hope in their lives by walking out God's plan for their lives. Now, John wants to help you find the passion, vision, and faith you need to start writing out God's sentence for your life and help you add to it every day. Phone lines are now open. Call or text 314-880-0808. Now, here is your host, the new John Simmons.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's the new John Simmons here with you, part of the Testimony House Network, where you can find God's sentence for your life and become the new you, where we talk about finding passion, vision, and faith in your walk with Christ so that your life can overflow with joy, peace, and hope today. Welcome, everybody. Very excited you joined us, and if you are with us for the first time, we also have our Facebook live stream available to you. Just go over to Facebook, search for the new John Simmons. You can also find past shows over on our YouTube channel, same name. If you're listening live in your car, you can also find us on newjohnsimmons.com or on your home devices. Lots of ways to hear this show tonight, and I would encourage you to use any of those methods in the future to catch past episodes or to share with a friend. We're trying to increase our listening audience, and we would encourage you, if you like this show, if you're a fan, just go ahead and share it with somebody who is needing some encouragement, maybe someone who's looking to find some purpose, maybe a graduate. We've come across a lot of pictures over the weekend of graduates from high school, college, and maybe those people are looking for the answers to life questions. What do we do next? And so that's some of the questions that we like to answer on this show. Our purpose to help you find God's sentence for your life. What that is just a fancy way of saying God's unique plan and purpose. God has given all of us the ability to find Christ, and all of us have been given irrevocable gifts that we can use to serve the kingdom and to serve others. And through that process, we'll find satisfaction, peace, joy, hope. We'll find ourselves fulfilled in so many ways that we are constantly looking for in life. And many times, whether it's a graduate or maybe you're just a 30 or 40-year-old who just woke up one morning and you go, this is not what I thought life would turn out like. Well, many of us have done that, myself included. I'll go ahead and raise my hand on that. I wasn't doing the things, I wasn't seeing the results, I should say, that I wanted to see in my life when I made the choices that I thought were important and worth taking. Instead, I found peace, joy, and hope in my life after I found Christ. So that's what we do here on the show, to encourage people to find God's sentence. We'll show you how to find passion, which is our way of saying how to find God's will. You know, you find it through prayer and God's word and through church and through talking to God. There's so many different ways to know what God is doing in us and through us, but we have to be intentional with some of the actions that we take. Then we need to find a vision from God. All the people who are listed in the Bible, they're in the Bible because they did something, either for God or God had them do something, or God tried to get them to do something and they didn't listen. That's called a vision. And if you were walking out in life today and you're wondering what you should do next, you're lacking a vision. The Bible says that without a vision, people perish. Doesn't mean you'll die. Perish just means to go bad. Not necessarily you'll become a mass murderer or you'll become, a bore to be around. Instead, you'll just go bad, just like a bad piece of fruit. Over time, you'll get brown and stale, and you won't be as enjoyable. People won't want to put you in the recipe of their new job, etc. And then finally, we teach you how to find faith. This is something that Jesus even had to teach the disciples. He said, you lack faith. You have little faith. It's one of the first questions that I had in my heart when I was reading the Bible for the first time as a born-again believer at 29. What is faith, God? Even the apostles struggle to find it, yet your word says that without it, we can't please you. So I went on a mission in my own life to discover how to walk in faith. I wrote about that discovery inside my book, Finding Faith, which you can find in stores now. And I want to be able to encourage you, wherever you're at, that you can do what God wants you to do, and doing that will require you to step out into the unknown future of your life and find fulfillment and joy through the process. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Doesn't mean you're going to be a millionaire. Just means that you're going to find what you were created to do. And when you walk out in the things that you were created to do, you'll find a satisfaction that many people are not walking with today. I want to thank everybody for tuning into the show tonight. Hey, Renee over on Facebook. Appreciate you tuning into the show tonight. A lot to go over. One of my favorite subjects is going to be the topic tonight, minimalism. Minimalism. Have you guys seen this Netflix documentary? It's over there. I watched it over the weekend. I'd watched it, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or something. I don't know where I saw it the first time. I've seen it twice now. If you don't know what I'm talking about, minimalism is it's been in the public eye for quite a while now, several years. It's this movement of giving away or, selling in your possessions and living with little or next to nothing. And there's this documentary by the guys who literally wrote the book on it. Now, they're not the first minimalists, but they are this generation's, head honchos of the subject. These two guys, Ryan Nicodemus and Joshua Fields, I have his name somewhere else. These two guys wrote the book on minimalism, and then they created a documentary, which is now airing over on Netflix, describing sort of how they came into seeking out this as a way of life, how they have written this book to try and encourage other people to get rid of their possessions in order to find joy, peace, and hope. Renee over on Facebook says, I'm more of a hoarder myself. Hey, I'm with you. Things are fun. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. Things are not the purpose of life, as they will tell you, but also giving away things for the sake of giving away things, not to spoil my review of this movie, but I'm not on the same page as these guys for a number of reasons. Not because they aren't saying anything that can't help people. Maybe it can. Minimalism in and of itself is not an evil thing to be doing. It's not something that people should necessarily run away from. Instead, it's just something that is not the answer to our life questions. When people say, how do I make myself happy? It isn't from throwing all your stuff in a dumpster and living out of a backpack. That is not how you find happiness in your life. We're going to go over where it comes from. Spoiler alert, it's Jesus, and it's from getting to know him. That's the true path to joy. That's the true path to finding a wonderful life. It's not from selling your possessions and going into, live in a hostel somewhere, or telling everybody how cool your new tiny house is. Again, none of these things are inherently bad by themselves. It's simply a way of living, and I want to talk about, and later, in fact, just in a few minutes, we're going to start playing some clips from this film, and I want to talk to you about specifically some of the things that they've said, these two guys who wrote this book and this documentary centers around. I find it fascinating. I really do. I mean, I've watched these tiny house shows on HGTV. I've seen the guys get really pumped up about like how their shelves, fold into their kitchen, and they've got their closet underneath the sink and all these things. It's fascinating to watch. I don't know how you could do it with children, but they tried to make this point in the film that you can live like this with children. I've even seen some of the episodes on like the tiny house builders shows and, Build Me a Tiny House. I don't know what all these shows are called. They've come into prominence recently, and I've seen them try and have kids in these places, but man, it's hard enough to live in one of those places by yourself, I'm sure. If you have 4 kids, I have 2, and they try to wreck the house, I can't imagine what it would be like to be on top of them and them not to have any room to play. It's just a thing. Those are just some of my personal issues with it. Not necessarily are they bad for that reason. We're going to get into the very specific reasons I disagree with some of their thoughts as we go through some of these clips. First, I want to get deeper into this idea of what is minimalism before I start tearing into this documentary. Again, I don't dislike these people. I don't think they're inherently evil. That is not the point of this conversation. It is just to be able to encourage you to understand how you can find joy in your life. We're all looking for it. In fact, the minimalist will tell you that that's what they're looking for. And so we have 2 different ways of searching for it. And so I want to be able to encourage you tonight. If you're one of these people who get, real excited when you see something cool on TV, and you see one of these guys who is living out of a backpack and they just feel like they're just having the greatest life, and they're traveling the country, and oh my gosh, they're on TV and they've got 100,000 followers on Instagram. There's more to it than that. There's more to finding a good life, finding a satisfactory life, than just figuring out a way to live that's different than what everybody else is doing. The way that God has designed us to live that will bring the most joy in our life is to do exactly what he's designed each and every single method. Each way that he's designed salvation is for each one of us. So ultimately, if we find joy in our life, it comes from doing what the crowd should be doing. Now, he says it's a narrow road that we will follow, but he's designed the same plan for everyone. The minimalist culture will try and tell you, no, this is our way. It's a new way, which it's not, by the way. Anybody who tries to tell you this minimalism thing is new and hip and trendy, even though, they may have just started airing these shows on TV, it's been around for centuries. This way of living has been part of spiritual revolutions. It has been around the block and twice again. It continues to disappear and come back with, just the different generations. So the minimalists are not doing anything new. They haven't reinvented the wheel. They're just sharing it with a new generation of people. The Bible is very specific to tell us where joy comes from, to tell us that God has a plan for our life, to tell us that we've been given gifts. And guess what the Bible also says? It says you should ask and receive, knock and he will answer, seek and you shall find. These are the words of the Bible. Even when asked, about giving gifts to your children, he said, would you give your child a stone if they asked for bread? And, it's the same thing. Of course not. Of course you wouldn't. You want the best things for your children. You want the best things for your spouse, I would hope. You want the best things for yourself, probably. I mean, that's our sin nature, isn't it? To want the very best things for ourselves. And I don't think that the minimalists or anyone who, lives or uses this sort of lifestyle is doing anything that isn't, making them happy. I don't imagine you go into this tiny house and you're like, yeah, I don't like this. No, like maybe you do. Maybe you realize it's a dumb decision and you move back into your house. You know, people don't tell that story though. That's not as engaging as a story is. Oh, I'm selling everything. Everybody, hey, look over here. I'm selling everything I own and I'm going to live in a tiny house. Oh, I'm doing it for very noble reasons, but I need you to look at me. I'm gonna tell everybody, and I'm going to use my journey on Instagram stories, and you're gonna see me build the wall, and you're gonna see me put up the roof, and all of these things. But they don't tell you, 2 months later when they've moved out because it was too difficult or they hated it. Nope, you don't hear those stories. You hear the journey. You don't hear the destruction. In the same way, you'll see all the pictures of the wedding and all the family and all the cake, but you don't see the pictures of the divorce. Not usually. Now, some people will air that, but you don't often hear the stories and you don't see the pictures of the divorce proceedings. It's the same thing. We go through changes in our life. Some people try to figure out what makes them happy. This idea of minimalism is about, stripping things that are unnecessary. If you go over to Wikipedia and you type in minimalism, you'll find all sorts of stuff on art. But what we're talking about here in reference to living is called simple living. And it's what the minimalist in the documentary that I watched over the weekend sort of partake in. It traces back decades and centuries. And the sum of it is that what is necessary for happiness, bodily comfort in life should be maintained at a minimal cost, while all things beyond what is necessary for these should either be tempered by moderation or completely avoided. In other words, we shouldn't have too much stuff, and anything we like to do, we should only do a little bit. It's true. Renee over on Facebook says only Donald Trump can build a wall. No, I've seen on these documentaries, Renee, I've seen the people. They like to get on Instagram and tell me all about how they bought a trailer and they're putting up a wall and then they've got this reclaimed wood. They tell me all about it. I see it. People are into this. Build me a wall. Build me a tiny wall. It'd be a lot cheaper and it'd probably be finished right now if Donald Trump only wanted to build a tiny house wall. Anyway, so this idea that we shouldn't have too much stuff and anything we like to do, we should do in moderation. Incorrect. In the fact that anything we want to do is not necessarily good, even if it's in moderation. If I get drunk, only sometimes, but I go home and I'm a terrible jerk to my wife, or I run into somebody on the way home and I'm driving drunk, just because I did it in moderation doesn't make that a great thing. It doesn't make you an evil person. Doesn't mean you're going to hell. The same thing for, I only murdered once. I did it in moderation. For me with my gambling, if I went 2 years without gambling, but then lost the family house one night, moderation. No, it was moderation. This idea that things can be done in moderation, incorrect. I mean, God asks us to flee from sin, and I think that's what the world sort of misidentifies, is that they think all things that make us happy can be good in moderation, but the truth is that all things that make us happy come from the Lord. And we should be doing those things in excess. That there's nothing that the Lord gives us to do, whether it's loving Him or loving others or using our gifts or, finding a blessing and answer to a prayer. None of those things come in lack. None of those things we'd be like, well, God, really, no. I'd really like to only have a backpack full of blessings. I really don't want a house full of blessings, Lord. Please limit the blessings to my backpack. I want people to know that I am a minimalist blessing protector. Oh, I couldn't do it. But that, even though I couldn't do it, I don't want you to think that I'm trying to tear down this whole philosophy. What I'm trying to do here is help you and encourage you to understand that when we compare ourselves to other people, because that's what this whole thing stems down to a lot of times. They talk about this a lot in the documentary, that we got to, rewrite the American dream. That we don't have to keep up with the Joneses anymore. We shouldn't compare ourselves to others. Hear this all the time on the Dave Ramsey show when, his daughter is like, don't compare yourself to other people and Don't compare them to the nice cars that they're driving and this and that. Isn't this the same thing? We're comparing ourselves to the people who've decided to shop at Whole Foods and, you know, their whole trash in a year is like filled up in a little tiny cup. You seen those people? Or comparing ourselves to people, oh, you own so many things. I have so much to say about this because it's so hypocritical in some ways. Just don't keep up with the Joneses. There wasn't one person in this documentary who wasn't sporting a smartphone. But they're all telling us to stop being a consumer, by the way. We'll get into that more later. Minimalism. It's a documentary over Netflix. I have a lot to say about the subject, as you can tell. So when we come back, we'll start playing some of the clips from Josh and Nick. We'll discuss these things as we go. I want to encourage you tonight that God has a specific plan for your life, and it's not a life of lack. It's not a life of happiness either. It's a life of joy. We'll talk about that when we come back. You're listening to the New John Simmons Show, part of the Testimony House Network. Faithfully Fit and Wellness is St. Louis's all-new faith-based fitness program. Not only does Faithfully Fit want to see you shed pounds, but also wants to see you shed any other weight you've been carrying through Christ. Classes are filling up every morning during the week, so grab your spot in an individual class or an 8-week boot camp. Faithfully Fit offers classes in circuit training, drumstick fusion, cardio, and strength and personal training. Classes start at just $5, and the 8-week boot camp starts at $75. But wait, as a listener of the New John Simmons Show, Faithfully Fit is offering you a buy one, get one free boot camp when you mention this ad when signing up. That's 2 camps for the price of 1. You can bring a friend, split the cost, or have your second camp for free. Either way, this is a special offer only for show listeners. Sign up today by calling 314-239-4149 or visit faithfully.fit for more information. Faithfully Fit can also hold classes at your church or school. Don't delay. Contact Faithfully Fit, where they hope to strengthen your body and your relationship with Christ. Call 314-239-4149.
Testimony House Ministries is the proud sponsor of the New John Simmons Show. We are so thankful for all of you who tune into the show, watch us live on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. Without all of you, the New John Simmons Show and all of the other Testimony House Network shows would not be possible. Please visit newjohnsimmons.com today and click the Partner with Us tab to help us continue sharing our message of future and a hope through Christ with others. God bless.
Hey, everybody. New John Simmons here with you. Back in 2012, I found myself at the end of my rope for what seemed like the 100th time. I cried out to God and said, God, if you're real, I need you to show me a future and a hope for my life. What happened next changed my life forever. Took me out of my life where I was a gambling addict who had lost over $500,000, allowed me to begin a new life in Christ where I found more joy, peace, and hope than I ever knew existed. I share the stories, including where I blamed God for my father's death and the call into ministry that I found in my first book called Finding Faith. I also share with you the answers to the questions that I was asking God about what is faith and how can I move mountains with it. Finding Faith has those stories and so much more. I absolutely believe it can encourage you to find faith in your life today. Finding Faith by me, the New John Simmons, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble website, Walmart. You can also pick up a copy signed by me over at newjohnsimmons.com.
Are you interested in learning more about finding God's sentence for your life? At newjohnsimmons.com, there are articles and videos describing how you can begin to write God's sentence for your life by finding passion, vision, and faith. In addition, newjohnsimmons.com has a variety of ways for you to be encouraged to continue writing God's sentence. As always, you can hear the show live weekdays at 9 p.m. Central Time by clicking the Listen Live button when you visit newjohnsimmons.com.
WGNU, the talk of St. Louis, broadcasting on 920 AM and 106.9 FM.
The New John Simmons Show is part of the Testimony House Network. To learn more about the network or to watch other network programs, please visit testimonyhouse.org. Now, here's the New John Simmons.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. New John Simmons with you here each and every night at 9 p.m. If you would like to catch past episodes, be part of the program yourself. You can share your testimony over at newjohnsimmons.com. We're also looking for people to partner with us. That's right. This show is sponsored by nonprofit ministry Testimony House, and we're looking to expand our network, add some new shows, and be able to bring you some fresh new content and a lot of different platforms. We want to do Facebook Live, and we're even trying to put an app together, a lot of different things on the horizon, including I think we're going to be finishing up building our studio pretty soon, and we're going to be able to move into that to be able to start programming there. So if you would like to partner with us and sow a seed into the ministry that we're doing and help us help others find God's sentence for their life and find Christ and find the joy, peace, and hope that so many people are lacking in their lives, would you please head over to newjohnsimmons.com, click on the Partner with Us tab. You can be a one-time gift giver, or you can also sign up to be a monthly supporter. You can pay for a set of shows, one show. You can help us buy some of the resources that we're looking for. It all gets invested back into this work. It's not going to some company. It's not going into a minimalist backpack either. It is going into the ministry to be able to fund our efforts to share the gospel. So head over to newjohnsimmons.com today to partner with us. Tonight we're talking about minimalism. Over the weekend, I saw this show. It's a documentary. It's over on Netflix if you want to check it out for yourself. It's called Minimalism. Real exciting title, wasn't it? They really stepped outside the box on that one. About how these two guys who wrote this book on minimalism share their stories of how they came to walk this journey in their life and how they have now written the book and they're traveling the country to go share this philosophy of minimalism with others. This idea that you get rid of your possessions and you live this small, condensed life. You own just a few shirts. You don't really own a car, and you rent cars or you bike or whatever. You don't own a bike, I guess. One of the guys in the film has like 51 things that he owns in his life. He doesn't own a house. He doesn't own a car. He owns 2 bags and he has 51 things. That's minimalism. But I went to their website to look deeper into the meaning of the word, because it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And that's what they describe here on their website. If you head over to theminimalists.com, this is where I looked up their definition on what is minimalism. Well, they start by telling you what it's not. It's not that you must live with 100 less things or that you can't own a car or a television, although many people do associate with that. It also doesn't mean that you have to be single or a young white male blogger, etc. So it tells you what it isn't, but it doesn't really tell you what it is. It says minimalism is a tool that can assist you in finding freedom, freedom from fear, freedom from worry, freedom from overwhelm. This is their words. It's not even a sentence. Freedom from guilt, freedom from depression. They're looking for freedom. Uh-oh. That's a key word here. Looking for freedom. Freedom is found through Christ. Let's keep looking at what they call minimalism and their definition of it. They say today's problems seem to be the meaning we assign to our stuff. We give too much meaning to our possessions, forsaking our health, our relationship, our passions, our personal growth, and our desire to contribute beyond ourselves. Again, they don't necessarily define what it is to them. They don't give you an XYZ on, hey, if you're a minimalist, this is what you need to do. They basically leave it up to the person who is, involved in the program. They describe other people who are minimalists. They describe a guy named Leo who has a wife and 6 kids, and he's a minimalist. Another guy who has a house and a car in suburbia who's also a millennial. This word is getting me tongue-tied. They own less stuff. We'll come back to that word later. Excuse me. A minimalist. Here's what they say it does, though. It says that after they started to exercise minimalism in their lives, Josh and Nick, they say that it helped them, now this is their story, do a number of different things. It eliminated their discontent. It helped them reclaim their time, live in the moment, helped them pursue their passions, discover their mission. They created more. They consumed less. They focused on their health. They grew as individuals. Oh, aren't all these things wonderful, wonderful words? But why are they doing this? If you look at their website, theminimalist.com, what is minimalism? This is what they describe. When they incorporated minimalism into their lives, they were finally able to find lasting, their words, lasting happiness. And they say, isn't that what we're all looking for? We all want to be happy. I love this so much. Minimalists search for happiness not through things, but through life itself. Thus, it's up to you to determine what is necessary and superfluous in your life. Don't we all just want to be happy? If you have read my book, Finding Faith, you would know that that's one of the first chapters. Don't we all want to be happy? The answer to that, the world will tell you, is yes. But the solution, as the minimalists have described and as the world does, is that you make yourself happy by doing what makes you happy. Finding something that is happy to you, where your value is, where your heart is, where your passions are, where you. Guess what that is? That's called selfishness. It's okay to have interests. It's okay to have a desire to do things. But what has happened that gets us away from this is that when the world tells you you should do what makes you happy, God says that joy comes from putting trust in the Lord. And guess what joy is? Joy is better than happiness. Did you know that happiness is a fleeting feeling that can change with your circumstances? Meaning the very thing that these minimalists are chasing, happiness, can be gone the next day. If you own a bag with 54 things in it and someone steals that bag, are you still happy? Are you still living with all of this happiness? Are you still free? Renee on Facebook says, freedom is only found through Jesus. Very true. We're talking about that tonight because while you may be able to have less things in life, you might be able to find a way to find some joy by getting rid of possessions. The truth is that we find joy, like overwhelming, overflowing joy, through trust in Christ. You don't have to take my word for it. You can look at Romans 15:13, which says God is the God of hope, and if we put our trust in him, he will overflow our life with joy and peace. It seems like these guys were looking for that all along. Let's play a clip of what Ryan says. He's one of the writers of this minimalist book, and he's featured in this documentary on why he got into minimalism in the first place.
I had everything I ever wanted. I had everything I was supposed to have. Everyone around me said, "You're successful." But really, I was miserable. There was this gaping void in my life. So I tried to fill that void the same way many people do, with stuff. Lots of stuff. I was filling the void with consumer purchases. I was spending money faster than I was earning it, attempting to buy my way to happiness. I thought I'd get there one day. Eventually, happiness had to be somewhere just around the corner. I was living paycheck to paycheck, living for a paycheck, living for stuff. But I wasn't living at all.
That was Ryan Nicodemus from the documentary Minimalism, available over on Netflix. We'll be sharing several of those clips throughout the rest of the program. Did you catch what Ryan said here? He had a gaping hole in his life he was trying to fill. Let me tell you a secret, everybody. Shh, don't tell anybody. It's Jesus. We all have a hole in our heart that Jesus is supposed to fill. If you don't find Christ in your life, you're going to try and fill that void in your life. He's describing what we all have. We're all born into sin. We're all born without Christ, and we need to find Christ in order to fill this hole. Now, people without Christ don't know how to verbalize what this void is. I didn't myself. I used to just say it was this feeling of not being able to know what my purpose was. For him, this gaping hole, Chris Vallotton, pastor over at Bethel Church, says if you're trying to fill this hole, you generally fill it with one of two things, pleasure or pain. You find something that, creates difficulty in your life, like with me with the gambling, or you find something that creates pleasure in your life, whether it's eating too much, or maybe a woman or a man that, satisfies some carnal instinct. We try to do things that may not provide great results to fill this void. And for him, it was chasing after money, living paycheck to paycheck, filling his apartment or his house wall to wall with DVDs and tapes, just like his, brother in crime here, not his real brother, but his teammate, Joshua Fields Milburn, co-writer of this book. Let's hear from him about why he got into minimalism.
Before I discovered minimalism, I think my life looked like pretty much anyone else's. I had a lot of stuff. Hundreds, thousands of books, DVDs and VHSs, closets full of expensive clothes, all of these things that I brought into my life without questioning. But when I started letting go, I started feeling freer and happier and lighter. And now as a minimalist, every possession serves a purpose or brings me joy.
Joshua, again, I would like to point out that I don't hate these guys, nor do I think they're evil people. The thing that they're trying to teach, I think, is incorrect. Minimalism in and of itself is not inherently evil, but trying to find happiness through this method will not show up. It will not show up. He said his possessions bring him joy. That was his final sentence. He just said that. He had all this stuff, and when he started getting rid of it, he felt lighter, and now the possessions that he have bring his life joy. He still is finding joy through stuff. He said it. Except now he has less of it. So wouldn't you, by retrospect, think you have less joy? Not to him. No, I have more joy now. I have less stuff. The point of this is that you're looking for joy in the wrong place, man. Joy doesn't come from your stuff, no matter how much of it you have, or no matter how little of it you have. When the lady went and gave her 2 pennies in the Bible, and Jesus said, she has given everything that she has more than anyone else who will give today. It's because the things that we have do not bring joy to our life. They do not bring fulfillment. It's Christ in us that brings those things. It's trusting him, trusting that Jesus is our Lord, trusting that the way to salvation is through him, trusting that God has a plan for your life that he can show you how to navigate, trusting that he's given you a gift that he wants you to use to serve the kingdom. That takes a lot of trust. But the results of it, as we've already shared, Romans 15:13, is that your life will overflow with joy. These guys were looking for it. They were desperate for it. So desperate they were willing to turn up any nook and cranny to find a way to find it. And they came across this word, this lifestyle, where they could have the joy they were seeking for themselves. What did they have to say about it? About the lives they have now that they are minimalists?
Imagine a life with less stuff, less clutter, less stress and debt and discontent, a life with fewer distractions. Now imagine a life with more time, more meaningful relationships, more growth and contribution and contentment. So it's funny because people will inevitably come up to us and they'll be like, now I'm not a minimalist like you. I've got this book collection. I love books and I've got a nice big library and I love the way the books smell. I love turning the pages. I love how they feel. I love lending them out to my friends. And then we talk about the books later. And I'm like, hey, keep your books. It sounds like you get a lot of value out of your books. And that's what I would say with any type of collection.
If you get a book or whatever, that's great. Make sure you minimize it afterwards. But I'd love to get a hug from you as well. You know, we're big time huggers, so they're free and transferable. Make sure you grab one from us afterwards.
That was Joshua and Nick talking about Joshua and Ryan Nicodemus. I'm sorry, I keep calling him Nick. Ryan and Joshua from the Minimalist movie out on Netflix. They were speaking in front of a crowd. 2 things I want you to catch. One is that they said you can be a minimalist and still collect things as long as those things still bring value to your life. So I can be a minimalist if I find value in, my 100 dishes or my 13 cars in the parking lot of my house. It seems to me it's a little contradictory. Are you a minimalist, meaning you own less stuff, or is it okay to have everything as long as you can find value in it? I'm sure If you've seen the show Hoarders, they find value in every single trinket in their house, whether it's piled to the ceiling or not. The other thing I want you to catch is immediately his teammate says, if you have a book collection, make sure you minimize it. Did you catch that? You can have a collection as a minimalist, but make sure you get rid of it after you've read the books. And the other thing that sort of bothered me about this is just a personal thing. This not necessarily has to do anything with Jesus. I love affection, and I love being able to reciprocate affection with someone that you care about. But they asked everybody in the audience to come give them a hug. I'm not a big fan of strangers hugging me on the street and just being like, hey, we're huggers, man. I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger. I appreciate that about you and you having that ability. But in today's world, is that even politically correct anymore? I don't know. If I walked around hugging everyone on the street, but I was like, but I'm a hugger. But I'm a hugger. Are they necessarily a receiver? I don't know. Just a thought. Lots to say about minimalism, how it is not a way to find a wonderful life. We find that through Christ. We'll continue our discussion about this documentary and this lifestyle culture when we come back here in the program. You're not going to want to miss the rest of the clips, and we're going to share with you a final takeaway. Don't go away. You're listening to the New John Simmons Show, part of the Testimony House Network. Faithfully Fit and Wellness is St. Louis's all-new faith-based fitness program. Not only does Faithfully Fit want to see you shed pounds, but also wants to see you shed any other weight you've been carrying through Christ. Classes are filling up every morning during the week, so grab your spot in an individual class or an 8-week boot camp. Faithfully Fit offers classes in circuit training, drumstick fusion, cardio, and strength and personal training. Classes start at just $5, and the 8-week boot camp starts at $75. But wait, as a listener of the New John Simmons Show, Faithfully Fit is offering you a buy one, get one free boot camp when you mention this ad when signing up. That's 2 camps for the price of 1. You can bring a friend, split the cost, or have your second camp for free. Either way, this is a special offer only for show listeners. Sign up today by calling 314-239-4149 or visit faithfully.fit for more information. Faithfully Fit can also hold classes at your church or school. Don't delay. Contact Faithfully Fit, where they hope to strengthen your body and your relationship with Christ. Call 314-239-4149.
Testimony House Ministries is the proud sponsor of the New John Simmons Show. We are so thankful for all of you who tune into the show, watch us live on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. Without all of you, the New John Simmons Show and all of the other Testimony House Network shows would not be possible. Please visit newjohnsimmons.com today and click the Partner with Us tab to help us continue sharing our message of future and a hope through Christ with others. God bless.
Hey, everybody. New John Simmons here with you. Back in 2012, I found myself at the end of my rope for what seemed like the 100th time. I cried out to God and said, God, if you're real, I need you to show me a future and a hope for my life. What happened next changed my life forever. It took me out of my life where I was a gambling addict who had lost over $500,000, allowed me to begin a new life in Christ, where I found more joy, peace, and hope than I ever knew existed. I share the stories, including where I blamed God for my father's death and the call into ministry that I found in my first book called Finding Faith. I also share with you the answers to the questions that I was asking God about what is faith and how can I move mountains with it. Finding Faith has those stories and so much more. I absolutely believe it can encourage you to find faith in your life today. Finding Faith by me, the New John Simmons, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble website, Walmart. You can also pick up a copy signed by me over at newjohnsimmons.com.
Are you interested in learning more about finding God's sentence for your life? At newjohnsimmons.com, there are articles and videos describing how you can begin to write God's sentence for your life by finding passion, vision, and faith. In addition, newjohnsimmons.com has a variety of ways for you to be encouraged to continue writing God's sentence. As always, you can hear the show live weekdays at 9 p.m. Central Time by clicking the Listen Live button when you visit newjohnsimmons.com.
Every topic is on the table here at WGNU 920 AM and 106.9 FM.
Find passion, find vision, find faith. You're listening to the New John Simmons Show, part of the Testimony House Network.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. New John Simmons with you here. talking about minimalism tonight. I want to get right back into it because I have a lot to say, and we're running out of time. This documentary that is on Netflix now about minimalism that shares the story of Ryan and Joshua, these minimalist authors of the book and also creators of this documentary, talking about this new way of life. Let's hear them describe it.
What we're trying to do is show people that there's a different way for us to live.
The people you bring into your life, you should always be hanging out with people who have the same values. And that's really what minimalism is about. It's about living deliberately. So every choice that I make, every relationship, every item, every dollar I spend, I'm not perfect, obviously, but I do constantly ask the question, is this adding value? Am I being deliberate with this decision?
Joshua and Ryan talking about minimalism. This idea that you should be intentional and deliberate. Where have I heard this before? Oh, the Bible. Oh, it talks about being a steward. It talks about being, generous to others and careful with the decisions that you make and fleeing from sin. They're describing biblical principles. Now, they would never tell you that. What they're finding is that they're finding joy from doing biblical things. They're not finding joy from being minimalists. They're finding joy, or at least what they're calling joy. I think it's more like happiness, because I really do think if someone steals their bag of 36 items, they're not going to be happy no more. I think you'll see their happiness go away. That's just a thought. Minimalism is not what is bringing joy into anyone's life. The actions of intentional and deliberate living are, as he says there, it's a new way of living. No, it's not. It's not a new way of living. People have been doing this for years. It's just new to you. Here's Josh on why it's not a radical way of life.
Minimalism is not a radical lifestyle. I absolutely believe in quality over quantity, right? So I'd much rather have one nice sweatshirt than a closet full of ugly sweatshirts that I don't enjoy wearing. I don't own a lot of clothes now, but all the clothes I do own are my favorite clothes.
Let me tell you, if I own 100 sweaters that I got at the thrift store over the years and I just never threw any out, but you go to Saks Fifth Avenue or Neiman Marcus up there in Frontenac and you buy that $400 sweater, how are you less of a consumer than I am? The movie, the documentary, it portrays that minimalism is all about getting away from the consumer culture and disassociating yourself from that sort of life. If it's true, I can see value in that and trying to really say, okay, is the new thing is we're going to live off the grid, we're going to be self-sufficient, self-sustaining. But just because you've upgraded your purchases, like he just said, I like quality still. He wears these shirts he talks about in the movie. He only owns like 6 shirts, but they're all these super expensive shirts. What's the difference? You might have less things, but you haven't been any less part of the consumer culture. You're still going to feed the companies that this movie tries to tell us are evil and out for our money, and they're just trying out to ruin our lives to make us buy more stuff. They got you tricked too, because the same people that sell me Tickle Me Elmo on Black Friday are the same people who are going to sell you that tiny house trailer that you're living in. They don't care what you buy. They just care that you buy it. So you're not fooling me by telling me that you've erased your whole life and your closet is so small and that you found joy in your life through all of these things, when the truth is you're still buying just like I am. You're just choosing different things. You're being intentional and deliberate about it. Maybe. If you have the same iPhone that everybody else has, you're just as much as the problem. That's what this movie describes as the consumerism is evil. They showed all sorts of scenes of Black Fridays and all of these different moments where people were attacking each other to buy things and why that's evil. You're in a store not everybody can afford to shop in. Just a thought. Just a thought. Let's hear about the point of their messages. This is from Ryan Nicodemus.
The whole point of this message, the whole point of us sharing this story is to help people curb that appetite for more things, because it's such a destructive path to go down. I literally have used people to sell cell phones. I've used people to get bigger and better clients. And what I love about my life now is I can be genuine and that there is no manipulation.
No manipulation in his life anymore. He's acting genuine. He's able to throw away all the things of his life, and he's able to find a life that's genuine. They seem to be saying an awful lot of good things, but I don't think they're really saying much at all. Let me go back to their list of things that they're doing in life. I mean, if these aren't, stocking stuffers of, cultural words that sort of, sell T-shirts, live in the moment, pursue our passions, discover our mission, experience real freedom. Guess what? They're not telling us how they're doing any of those things. At no point in any of this do they describe how they've discovered freedom or what they're doing with their free time. They don't discuss what they're doing with all of their extra money. They don't discuss how the joy has infiltrated other areas of their life, which is what this is supposed to do. It's supposed to unlock all of these areas in your life. He talks about how he's, being genuine to others and he's not manipulating anybody. You wrote a book where you're traveling the country trying to get people to throw the stuff in their house away. How is that any different than trying to sell somebody a cell phone? I don't see a difference. If it's not motivated in Christ, it's motivated in some sort of unrealistic activity or unrealistic heart, because we're all designed to be selfish. Now, you can tell me, John, no, there can be unselfish people who aren't Christians, and you're absolutely right. But don't tell me that you've somehow found the answer to life by throwing away a couple things in your house. When you can't show me with your words or with your actions what you're doing to help others. They say they're helping others. Is writing this book all that they've done to help others? Again, I don't think that minimalism by itself is evil. I don't think that, if it's something that you're doing that you have somehow fallen into sin and need to repent. I don't believe that. But if these guys are going to get up here and tell us it's the source of joy and happiness, I'm going to argue that, because I know that the source of joy and happiness is the Lord. Let's hear about Josh's final takeaway from what you should feel about minimalism.
I don't know where you are on your journey, where you are in life, or wherever you're going on that journey, but we are really grateful you're here with us tonight. So if I could give you one takeaway, one thing to bring away from all of this, it'll be this. Love people and use things, because the opposite never works.
Joshua Fields Milburn, his final takeaway on what you should feel about minimalism. Love people, not things, because the opposite doesn't work. Love people, not things. Guess what that is? That is a biblical principle from Jesus. Love God, love others, wrapped in a minimalist bow, trying to tell us that that's the source of joy. Minimalism is not the source of joy. Following the Bible is the source of joy. They've just tapped into the fact that God has designed us to use our lives to serve others and to serve the kingdom. Joy does not come from being a minimalist. Joy does not come from being a maximalist either. Joy comes from the Lord. If you really want to find a way to a wonderful life, you want to find yourself feeling satisfied at the end of the day, you want to feel like you've done something with your purpose, you want to have joy in your life and also be able to be seen by others with that joy, because at no point in this entire documentary did I look at Josh or Ryan and say, man, those guys are really happy. They kept saying it, but they weren't showing it. Their faces were sad and depressed still. They might be famous. They might be well known now. They might have success beyond their wildest expectations for what they're talking about. But they didn't express one thing that they were doing that brought them joy, other than that they've gotten rid of some of their stuff. And that in and of itself is not a path to joy. Spending time with friends, they said, and unlocking your passions. Well, what are your passions, Ryan? What are your passions, Josh? What are you doing to make the world a better place? What are you doing to find joy? I'm going to leave you with this, because get this. There's, no matter what I rant about, the truth is my heart is guided by the Christ that saved me from a gambling addiction where I had no joy. And I get frustrated when people try and sell a bill of goods to people who are desperate to find it. It does not come from a tiny house. It does not come from a tiny backpack. It does not come from the book of the week or the movie of the year. In John 16, Jesus speaking to the disciples says, "Are you asking yourselves what I meant? I said, in a little while you won't see me, but a little while after that you will see me again. I tell you the truth, you will weep and mourn over what is going to happen to me, but the world will rejoice. You will grieve, but your grief will turn suddenly into joy. There will be a woman like who suffers the pains of labor. When her child is born, her anguish gives way to joy because she has brought a new baby into the world. So you have sorrow now, but I will see you again. Then you will rejoice, and no one can rob you of that joy. At the time, you won't need to ask me for anything. I tell you the truth. You will ask my Father directly, and he will grant your request because you use my name. You haven't done this before, but ask using my name, and you will receive, and you will have abundant joy." Christ came to die on the cross, and when he explained this moment to his disciples, they started to grieve him, grieve the loss they were about to have. But he said that they will find abundant joy in his loss, and you can find it too. Believe in your heart and confess with your mouth that Christ is Lord, and you shall be saved. Ask God. You may not have done it before, but neither had the disciples. And John 16:24 says, "Ask using Jesus' name, and you will receive abundant joy." That's my takeaway from my side of the fence tonight. Thanks for tuning in live on Facebook and also on your radio tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Curtis, behind the boards, and all of you who have tuned into the program. We will see you again tomorrow. Until then, guys, I pray you discover a future and a hope for your life today.
Thanks for listening to the new John Simmons Show, part of the Testimony House Network. To replay this episode or listen to past episodes, look for the new John Simmons Show podcast on your mobile device. Stay connected to the show. Read the latest news, blog posts, and see behind-the-scenes photos by following @New John Simmons on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you would like to learn more about how you can begin to write God's sentence for your life, or join a growing community of people who are finding passion, vision, and faith for their lives, please visit newjohnsimmons.com. Until next time, we pray you discover a future and a hope for your life today.